The worst cardio mistake that everyone makes when trying to lose weight, including myself in the past, is focusing too much on either how much calories get burned during exercise or how much it affects your calories burned after exercise, but not both. That is the whole picture. You might have heard things like training fasted burns more calories, or do HIIT and you'll get an afterburn effect, or do less intense because that's the fat burning zone. No wonder we're so confused. Most pop science articles focus on just one of these at a time. But when you combine both parts, you'll understand how cardio fits into the whole picture of weight loss, and it becomes easier to figure out what is the right cardio for you that actually integrates into your lifestyle. If you just focus on what happens during exercise, your goal will be, how many calories can I burn here? This is a bad question because of the pool of misleading answers. Calories burned during cardio are much lower than what fitness trackers say. According to the study on fitness tracker accuracy, researchers found significant error rates across all of them, within a range of 24% to 97.7% error rate. This makes sense. Lucy, my co-coach and ex-engineer on Microsoft Band, had this to say.
Fitness trackers primarily use a person's height, weight, and heart rate to determine how many calories they're burning. Not only is this not enough data to get accurate, but the calories burned during exercise also includes the person's BMR, or resting metabolic rate. This means anywhere from 20 to 33% of the calories burned could have just been from you being alive and had nothing to do with exercise at all.
This leads most people to eat more than they burned, which is already easy to do. Consider a donut can be anywhere from 200 to 400 calories. In addition to fitness trackers being inaccurate, many of us have a subconscious tendency to eat more food after exercising. Studies have shown that labeling something as exercise, or even just thinking about exercise, leads some people to overeat afterward. When we ask students to journal their food intake in our Badass Body Boss program, some are shocked by how much extra they eat on days they exercise. This is why first and foremost, diet matters more. This is why the age-old saying, "you can't outrun a fork," continues to this day. Okay, you might ask, but does it matter where the calories come from? What about the fat burning zone, which says if you train at a lower intensity level, you'll burn more calories from fat than stored carbs? Your body has two sources of fuel, fat and stored carbs. When sitting or doing an activity at a low intensity level, it will primarily burn from fat. When exercising at a high intensity level, it will primarily burn from carbs. But while a lower intensity activity uses more percentage of fats as fuel versus carbs, a higher intensity activity burns more calories overall. So you actually end up burning more calories from fat to doing the higher intensity one in the end anyway. However, before you rev up your exercise intensity, going too hard has its own drawbacks when we look at what happens after exercising. Have you noticed that when you exercise more intensely, after the initial high of coming off your workout, you just want to sit and relax the rest of the day? You may not even be aware of it happening because this occurs over time in a biological process called adaptive thermogenesis, or metabolic adaptation. Research shows that when we increase the intensity of our workouts to burn more during the workout, our bodies may preserve more energy by burning fewer calories afterward, those remaining 23 hours of the day when we're not actively exercising. One theory for why this happens is explained by the constrained total energy expenditure model. We think that as we increase exercise intensity, we would burn more calories like this. This is true when exercise is kept at a lower intensity level, like taking walks. However, the more we increase exercise intensity, the more it starts looking like this, because our bodies have a safe range in which it thinks you should burn calories. And because our bodies are super sensitive to change, a more intense exercise triggers it to go into an overprotective mode, where it tries to prevent calories burned from other parts of your life. This means your NEAT, the biggest source of calories burned after resting metabolic rate. NEAT means any movement involved in daily activity that's not related to formal exercise daily, like fidgeting and doing chores. This movement is often subconscious, something that basically comes for free because you're not even thinking about it. However, if too much exercise is taking away calories burned from NEAT, we are essentially replacing subconscious effort with more conscious effort. This is totally fine if you genuinely enjoy your workout, but if you're only trying to do cardio for the purposes of weight loss, it's worth asking yourself, does this trade-off make sense? We see this kind of trade-off happen in many cardio exercises that claim to promote more calories burned during exercise. Consider faster training, which is training training before eating anything for the day. Those who swear by fasted training say you will burn more fat during the session itself than if you train while fed, but that does not mean you will lose more fat overall. When some studies looked at the whole picture, they found that participants burned less fat over the next 24 hours than those who trained while fed. That said, not all research completely agree, likely because it largely depends on where the participants' fitness levels are at and their existing eating habits. If training fasted is not a huge change for them from their regular routine, the body will less likely adapt to compensate. Regardless, as with other exercise hacks, the increase in any calories burned is often insignificant to matter in comparison to diet anyway. Now, if you want to train fasted for other reasons, go for it. But for weight loss, it likely won't make a huge impact. But wait, what about HIIT and the afterburn effect? Doesn't that mean I should continue burning calories even afterward? While this is true, research has found that the calories burned from the afterburn effect is very small, amounting anywhere from 64 calories to 80 calories, which can be easily accomplished by just eating one less piece of bread a day. Now, again, if you like HIIT and it saves you more time at the gym versus going for hour-long walks, then by all means do it. But don't fall under the impression that it significantly benefits fat loss any more than diet and NEAT would. Okay, don't panic. It may sound like this is a lose-lose situation, but that's actually the opposite takeaway to have. Truth is, knowing that all cardio ends up being trivial compared to diet expands your choices. First, you have the option to choose no cardio at all if you want, because you don't need to do any of this if you're just focusing on using diet to create a calorie deficit instead of cardio. Cardio has a host of other benefits that can enhance your health, like mental clarity, conditioning, and emotional well-being, so it's best used for overall health. But in the context of weight loss, think of it more like a supplement, not the main player. With that in mind, the guiding principle for choosing cardio to supplement your weight loss is to pick something that doesn't keep you from meeting diet needs first and doesn't detract from your NEAT. If it's doing either of those two things, then it's sabotaging, not supplementing your weight loss. You'll know number one is happening if you're tracking your foods and noticing a spike in calories eaten even though you're not sure why. You'll know the second is happening if you're feeling lethargic or not seeing progress despite meeting your calorie targets food-wise. And if you follow this formula, you're less likely to run into either of those. Fun plus 1% intensity. Let's talk fun. Remember, any formal cardio results in insignificant calories burned, so pick what you most enjoy first rather than basing it on calories. If it's not fun, you won't stick to it long term. Map all the exercises you're thinking of on the spectrum of fun and pick one to start that seems most fun right now. And if nothing sounds fun, it may be worth asking, do I even need cardio right now? Next is intensity. What do I mean by 1% intensity? Remember that increasing exercise too much too quickly may shock your body into over-adapting too soon. So rather than going from 1 to 100, let's aim for just 1% harder than what you're currently doing and gradually dial up over time as needed. Note that everyone has a different dial for what counts as their effort set point. For some, simply walking 15 minutes a day is effort. For others, it may be cycling 5 to 10 miles, and others, intense HIIT. Where are you at? This is the kind of personalized tweaking we help our Badass Body Boss students with to figure out what works for them. And if you're still unsure and would like us to help you figure out a weight loss plan for you, check out our Badass Body Boss program below. Now, suppose you found the perfect match and are excited to start doing it consistently. But wait, there can be too much of a good thing. We talked about weight loss and calories, but not muscle and body fat percentage. Eating less and doing too much cardio for too long, especially without paying attention to food quality, have led many to muscle loss and ending up in what's known as the skinny fat zone as opposed to the lean and toned look I'm assuming you prefer. I recommend checking out this video on toning versus building muscle, which also discusses the difference between weight loss versus fat loss. And always remember, you can do it.